in the modes of reproduction, next one is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction is considered to be the advanced one, and which is a slow process, elaborate one, and more complex when compared to the vegetative and the asexual methods. And here it is a generally the two parents are required for this process, and gamete formation is present. Two types of gametes are formed, those are male gamete and the female gamete. The same time, fusion of gametes is there. That is what we call it as a fertilization process. And after formation of gametes, after fusion of gametes, zygote will be formed, and this zygote will be generally diploid in condition. And depending upon the ploidy of the parent, the zygote may further undergo mitosis to produce the diploid organism, and if the parent is haploid, the zygote will undergo meiosis to produce the haploid organism. So likewise, these are the changes which are taking place during the sexual reproduction process. And here, based on the stage where the meiosis is taking place, so there are three types of meiotic steps are there. Okay, there are three stages where the meiosis occur in the life of an living organism. Based on that one, zygotic meiosis. Generally, zygotic meiosis will occur in lower organisms where the plant body is in haploid condition, where the zygote will undergo meiosis to produce the plant or plant body which is haploid in condition. This type of organization can be seen in majority of the algae and fungi, and also in bryophytes, and also in some of the bryophytes this type of characterization can be seen. And second one is sporic meiosis. Here, as we know that mother spores or mother cells are present, or we can call them as spore mother cells. The spore mother cells are generally diploid in condition. These spore mother cells will undergo meiosis and produce haploid spores in the life of the organism. This is seen in some of the bryophytes, whereas in the other higher plants, that is in pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, here they produce microspore mother cells which are diploid in condition, and megaspore mother cells. These megaspore mother cells are also diploid in condition, and both of them will undergo meiosis. This can be observed in the further group of plants, pteridophytes and spermatophytes. Of course, spermatophytes includes both gymnosperms and the angiosperms. So this is a second type of meiosis where the spores are undergoing, or spore mother cells are undergoing meiosis to form into spores. And here, spore mother cell, microspore mother cell and megaspore mother cell, all of them are undergoing meiosis, so we call them as meiocytes. And the resultant cells are called as meiospores. The third one is gametic meiosis. Gametic meiosis is observed in animals where the meiosis occurs during gamete formation. Or simply to say, during gametogenesis we can say. during gametogenesis. If meiosis occur, we call that as gametic meiosis. Likewise, in which stage of the life cycle the meiosis is taking place, based on that one, the ploidy of the plant body will be, the ploidy of the organism will be maintained, and three types are present, that is zygotic, sporic and the gametic meiosis. Okay. In sexual reproduction, which is a common in all the group of plants from lower to the highest group of plants. So, here as we have discussed that there are annuals, biannuals and perennials. At the same time, if you consider annual plant, the plant will produce the flowers and fruits, and after that it will die off. Whereas in the biennials also, after second year, the plant in the second year the plant will start producing the flowers and participate in sexual reproduction and complete its life cycle. Whereas in the perennials, this cycle of formation of flowers and fruits is taking place in cyclic manner, and many number of times they start producing the flowers. And apart from that one, so based on the condition, there are two types of characters are there. One is monocarpic and other is polycarpic. Monocarpic are those plants which will produce flowers only once in its life cycle, and after formation of the flowers they produce the fruits and they complete their life cycle and they will die. So, this type of character can be observed in annual plants and also in the biennials. Whereas there are some perennials like bamboo and century plant. Century plant is commonly called as, scientific name of this one is Agave americana. These two are the perennial plants. Bamboo and the century plants are the perennial plants which will survive for many number of years. But the thing is, they will give flowering only once in its life cycle. Like bamboo will give flowering for 50 to 100 years of its lifespan, whereas century plant will give flowering after 10 to 30 years of its lifespan. And after once they give this flowering, they start producing the fruits and they will die and complete their life cycle. This type of plants where they are giving flowering only once in its life cycle are called as monocarpic plants. And next was polycarpic. Polycarpic character is observed in most of the perennial plants. Most of the perennial plants like peepal plant, mangoes, those are giving seasonally the flowers and fruits, and that will be repeated every season in the year. And there is one plant called as Strobilanthus kunthiana. Commonly called as Neela Kuranji. This plant will give flowering for every 12 years. Last time it had given flowering in September, October 2006. September, October of 2006, and after 12 years once again it will give flowering. So, this is that it is giving flowering many times in its life cycle. So, we consider this is one of the example for polycarpic condition. And other thing is it is growing in the hilly regions of stretch of Kerala, Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. Whenever it is giving the flowering, so blue colored long scape will be formed, so that is attracting large number of tourists. So, likewise based on the number of times the plant is giving flowering, those are monocarpic and the polycarpic conditions are seen. The sexual reproduction is a process, as we said that it is a gametic formation and meiosis will occur, the gametic fusion and the formation of the zygote and embryo and post fertilization changes. All these are the various stages where we are going to study about the sexual reproduction process. So, for the conveniency, the sexual reproduction is divided into 3 stages. One is pre-fertilization, fertilization and post-fertilization. Three stages. So let's start with the first one. In the pre-fertilization, whatever the changes that are taking place in the plant, so those are called as pre-fertilization changes. That is a pollination and formation of the gametes, gametogenesis, all that will be the part of this pre-fertilization changes. In pre-fertilization, one is formation of gametes, that is called as gametogenesis. Formation of gametes. So here gametes are the one which are going to participate in the fertilization, that is the gametes are fused to form zygote. And here based on the nature of the gametes, so there are two conditions are there. One is called as homogamete, or we can call them as isogametes. So homogamete or isogamete means the gametes which are participating in the fusion are structurally and functionally similar, or we can say that fusion between structurally and physiologically, that is functionally similar type of gametes. And here let's take the example of cladophora. In cladophora is an algae. In cladophora, the gametes, both the male gamete and the female gamete, actually to say we can't differentiate which one is the male gamete and which one is the female gamete. So they are structurally similar, size wise also both of them are similar. So the fusion occurs between such type of similar type of gametes. So we call this condition as homogametic condition or isogametic condition, and those gametes are called as homogametes or isogametes. So this condition is considered to be the primitive one when compared to the other type that is called as heterogametes or anisogametes. Heterogametes or anisogametes. The gametes which are participating in the fusion are structurally different from each other. So here they may be either structurally different or sometimes they are structurally similar but functionally different from each other. Such type of gametes are called as anisogametes. This type of character can be seen in some of the lower plants, that is like in Fucus, Pteris, Cycas, like higher plants also. This can be observed in almost all the angiosperms, gymnosperms and pteridosperms. And here the gametes, if you take the example here, this is a egg cell which is non-motile, that is a female gamete, whereas a male gamete will be smaller in size and it is motile, which contain flagella-like structure. So both of them are structurally different from each other. So this type of gametes are called as a heterogametes. In lower organisms, that is algae, fungi, bryophyta and pteridophytes, the male gametes are motile and the female gametes are non-motile. These motile male gametes, which are structurally different from the female gametes or female egg cell, they have locomotory structures, either flagella or cilia. They will swim in the water and reach the female reproductive structures and to participate in the fertilization process. So here this type of heterogametic condition can be seen in lower plants where the male are motile and the female are non-motile. While when it comes to the higher plants, that is in gymnosperms and angiosperms, both the male and female, both the gametes are non-motile, but they are structurally different. So there also we can see the heterogametic condition, but the difference is the male gametes are non-motile in their nature. Here based on the gametes which are formed from the plant or the organism, so here we can say that there are two conditions are there. One is bisexual condition and other is called as a unisexual condition. Bisexual condition is otherwise called as hermaphrodite nature. That is, both the type of sex organs, male and the female sex organs, are present in the same structure, whereas unisexual means the male reproductive structures are present in one structure and the female reproductive structures are present in the other one. So here when male and female structures are present, or it is equal to this bisexual condition is equals to monoecious condition, whereas unisexual condition is equal to dioecious condition. So because in the higher plants, when you call monoecious, so monoecious means both the type of sex organs are present on the same plant, whereas dioecious means one plant contain only male sex organs and other plant contains only female sex organs. That deviation can be seen. But when it is coming to the lower plants like in fungi, so here in fungi, homothallism or homothallic species we can call it as, and heterothallism or heterothallic species are present. So here homothallic means there is no differentiation, that is both the sex organs are same here, are present on the same mycelium or same organism, whereas heterothallic means one type of sex organs present on one thalli or one plant body, the other type of sex organs are present on the other plant body. So homothallism is equals to monoecious condition, whereas heterothallism is equals to the dioecious condition in the higher plants. This type of homothallic and heterothallic deviation can be clearly seen in Rhizopus species. In Rhizopus, there is one species called as Rhizopus stolonifer, where it is heterothallic in their nature, whereas Rhizopus sexualis is other species which is homothallic in their nature. So likewise, based on the type of sex organs which are present on the plant body, they have been differentiated into monoecious in higher plants and homothallic in fungi, dioecious in higher plants, and which is equal to heterothallic in the fungal members. And this type of deviation can also be seen by, let us observe this type of deviation by taking some examples of algal members, bryophyta members, and higher plants like in gymnosperms and also in the angiosperms. So let's take the example of Chara, which is an marine algae. Here, if we observe the structure of the plant body, this contains the elongated structure on which the both the type of sex organs are growing. This spherical shaped structure is the male reproductive structure and this is a female reproductive structure. This female reproductive structure is called as oogonium or female sex organ, and below that oogonium the male sex organ is present called as antheridium, male sex organ. So in Chara, a marine algae in which both the male and female sex organs are present on the same plant. So this is one of the example for monoecious condition. And let us take the example of dioecious condition, that is that can be observed in Marchantia, which is belonging to bryophytes. In Marchantia, the plant body is thallus like, that is there is no differentiation of root, stem and leaf. So here two type of thalli can be observed. One is called as male thallus and other is called as a female thallus. Structurally both the thalli are similar to each other and they contain the receptacles which contains the gemma inside them. So these are the rhizoids and this is a thallus like organization, and on the thallus there an elongated structure will be formed. At the tip of that one we can see the sex organs. So this is antheridiophore, and at the tip of this one antheridium is present, and this antheridium is a male sex organ. So this is called as male prothallus or male prothallus. And if you observe the female prothallus, it is structurally similar to the male prothallus, but the only difference is in place of antheridiophore and antheridium, they produce archegoniophore and archegonium. So they also have the receptacle which contains the gemma, and on one tip it produces the archegoniophore, and at the tip of this archegoniophore the archegonium is produced. This is archegonium and this is the archegoniophore. So here, as the archegonium is a female sex organ, so we call this as female prothalli or female prothallus. So this Markantia is an example for, which is a bryophyte, is an example for dioecious condition. So this type of dioecious nature can also be seen in higher plants. So here let us take the angiospermic plants like coconut, and coconut like example where both the sex organs are present on the same plant. So coconut is an example for monoecious condition, whereas Vallisneria, papaya like plants where the sex organs are present on different plants. So those are the examples for dioecious condition. Okay. In the life cycle of the organism, so as we have discussed that three stages are there: juvenile stage or vegetative stage. So that is a stage where the plant will show more vegetative growth, and it will gradually entering into the reproductive stage, that is called as mature stage. Mature stage is the one where the sex organs are well developed, and that is so that they start producing the gametes, fusion, that is fertilization and the formation of zygote and all other changes related to the fertilization is taking place. And the third one is a senescence or aging or senescence stage. Aging is a process where gradual deterioration will be taking place, and the irreversible aging process is called as senescence. And after senescence, the last stage we consider it as a death. So where the all metabolic activities are literally stopped. So likewise, during the different stages, different changes are taking place according to the hormonal changes in the organism. And apart from the hormonal changes, some environmental factors are also responsible for changes that are taking place during the different stages of the life cycle. In the dioecious condition also, there is a possibility that male flowers are separate and female flowers are separate. The male flowers are otherwise called as staminate flowers, and female flowers are called as pistillate flowers. So if both the male and female flowers are present on the same plant, so we call that condition as a monoecious condition. Whereas if male plants are present on one plant and female flowers are present on other plant, that is called as dioecious condition. Monoecious condition, as we are saying, that this can be seen in cucurbits, coconut like examples, whereas dioecious condition can be seen in papaya, Vallisneria like examples. And apart from this one, bisexual flowers, as we have said that both the male and female sex organs, that is androecium and gynoecium, are present in the same flower, and that is other condition. And one more condition is that is called as polygamous condition. Polygamous condition can be seen in mangifera like examples, where unisexual flowers and also the bisexual flowers are present on the same plant. So there is a possibility of transfer of the pollen grains between the different types of flowers in the cross pollination that we had studied in the earlier classes. In the life cycle of this plants, the meiotic division will take place at one or the other stage based on the ploidy of the organism. That we have discussed that zygotic meiosis, sporic meiosis and the gametic meiosis will occur. Particularly in the Monera, Protista, fungi and bryophytes, the meiosis will occur in the zygote. So that is zygotic meiosis, because the plant body is in haploid condition, whereas in higher plants like that is in pteridophytes, gymnosperms and angiosperms, the sporic meiosis will occur because the plants are in diploid condition. Then the gamete formation is taking place, that is called as gametogenesis. After that, the so formed gametes have to be transferred from the male plant or male organism to the female plant or the female organism. That is called as gamete transfer. In lower organisms, particularly in algae, fungi and bryophytes, also in pteridophytes. In this group of organisms, the male gametes are motile. So, as either they contain flagella or cilia. With the help of the flagella or cilia, they will move in the water, they will swim in the water and reach the male gametes which contain flagella or cilia, they will swim in the water and reach the female reproductive structures to participate in the fertilization process. And particularly in algae and fungi, the lower organisms, where particularly in algae which are aquatic in their nature, the male gametes may be motile or non-motile. When they are motile, they contain flagella or cilia and move with the help of the flagella and cilia and reach the female structures. Whereas in fungi, the plants or the fungi group of organisms are present in the growing on the organic matter. There also the male gametes are carried out with the help of wind or some locomotory structures. Whereas in bryophyta and pteridophyta, these are growing in the shady regions, and as they are land plants, then also they contains, despite of land plants, they also contains the water for reproductive process, because the male gametes are motile, they have to swim in the water and reach the archegonium or the female sex organs. Whereas whenever the male gametes are motile, we use a word called as zoidogamous condition. And when it comes to the higher organisms, that is in gymnosperms and angiosperms, in these two group of organisms, the male gametes are non-motile, but these male gametes are carried by pollen grains. Male gametes which are non-motile, that is, they does not have any locomotive structures, that is neither flagella nor cilia, but these are carried by pollen grains. And these pollen grains these pollen grains are carried by various agents, so that they will these pollen grains will reach the stigma. When they reach the stigma, they start germinating on the stigma and start producing the pollen tube. That pollen tube which contains the male gametes will reach the female structures, that is ovary and ovule, and where the male gametes are released, so that the fertilization will be taking place. So this condition where in gymnosperms and angiosperms, the male gametes are non-motile, but they are carried by pollen grains. So this condition is called as siphonogamy. This condition is called as siphonogamy. Likewise, the gametes are carried or transferred by various medium. So this type of variation can be observed in lower plants to the higher plants, that is in the angiosperms. Once the gametes are transferred to the female structures, there the fusion of male and female gametes is taking place. That stage is called as fertilization. The second step, that is fertilization. Fertilization means the fusion of male and female gametes. Here the male and female gametes which are participating in the fertilization, so there we call it as a single fertilization process. But in angiosperms, there is a double fertilization, where the two male gametes are participating in the fertilization, one of the male gamete will fuse with the egg cell to form zygote, and the second male gamete will fuse with the secondary nucleus of the embryo sac to produce primary endosperm nucleus. So, likewise the fusion between the male and female gametes is called as a fertilization process. And once the fertilization is taking place, that result into a diploid structure called as zygote, and zygote is considered as the first cell of sporophytic generation. First cell of sporophytic generation, and if the plant body is haploid, the zygote will undergo meiosis. When the plant body is diploid, the zygote will undergo repeated mitosis to form into embryo. That step is called as embryogenesis. And before that, there is a condition where fertilization does not occur, but the fruit formation and seed formation is observed in those plants. That process is called as parthenocarpy. That process is called as parthenocarpy. So, parthenocarpy can be observed in many plants. Okay. Seedless fruits can be produced in grapes by parthenocarpy condition. And where does fertilization will takes place in a living organism? Taking from lower organisms to the higher organisms, there are two stages where the fertilization, or two places where the fertilization is taking place. One is the fertilization which occurs inside the plant body, that is called as internal fertilization, and if the fertilization that occurs outside the plant body is called as external fertilization. So, first let us discuss about external fertilization. So, in lower organisms like in algae and fungi, here the fusion of the male and female gametes are taking place outside the cell or outside the plant body. So, we call it as a external fertilization. In algae, most of the algal members are aquatic in their nature, such that these algal members will release the gametes outside, and a large number of gametes are released, and at the same time there should be a synchrony between the release time of the gametes by male and the female structures, and at the same time there is a possibility of wastage of the gametes also. That is the reason why large number of gametes are produced here. And in fungi, as growing on the organic materials, the gametes are produced outside, so that they also fuse outside the plant body. So, we call it as external fertilization. Then next one is internal fertilization. The process in which the fertilization occurs inside the organism or inside the plant body, that is called as internal fertilization. This can be seen in bryophytes, pteridophytes and spermatophytes. Spermatophytes includes both gymnosperms and also angiosperms. So, here this type of fertilization where the male and female gametes are fused inside the female structures. Let us take the example of bryophytes and pteridophytes. In these two, the male and female gametes are fused inside the archegonium. The archegonium means the female structure. Whereas in the spermatophytes, the fusion of male and female gametes, occur in the ovule. So, that means as they are taking place inside the organism or inside the parts of an organism, so we call this as an internal fertilization process. After fertilization, many changes occur in the plant and the reproductive structures. Those are studied under post-fertilization changes. In the angiospermic plants or in the phanerogamic plants, the non-essential organs, that is calyx, corolla, will wither and they fall off. The stamens will also fall off, whereas the stigma and style also fall off, but the zygote that have been formed as a result of fertilization will be converted into embryo, and primary endosperm nucleus that is formed as a result of triple fission will be converted into endosperm. Ovule is converted into seed and ovary is converted into fruit or fruit wall or pericarp. So these are some changes which are taking place as a result of fertilization. So we call them as post-fertilization changes. In this, the major change related to that one is the conversion of zygote into embryo and ovule into seed and ovary into fruit. Embryogenesis. The fertilization product is called as zygote, or the fertilized egg is called as zygote. This zygote, which is diploid in condition and it is unicellular, made up of only one cell. This zygote will undergo repeated mitosis to form into embryo. So there are many stages from zygote to the embryo, because the zygote will undergo mitotic divisions in a systematic and schematic manner, so resulting into a multicellular structure called as embryo. In these changes, already we had discussed that zygote is converted into proembryo. Proembryo is converted into globular embryo, and globular structure is converted into heart-shaped embryo, and finally that is converted into matured embryo. Matured embryo is also diploid in condition, but it is multicellular in their nature. And here not only the division of the cells, but also cell differentiation. Cell division along with the cell differentiation will be taking place. During cell division, the number of cells will increase, but while cell differentiation, some group of cells are forming the foundation for different parts of the plant body. Like some cells of the embryo which are present in the radicle will give rise to future root system, and the cells which are present in the plumule of the embryo will give rise to the future shoot system. And the same way the cotyledons are giving rise to the primary leaves, which will provide food materials till they produce the normal photosynthetic green leaves. So this is what the changes which are taking place during the embryogenesis. And germination of the seed. So here the seeds are germinated when they are separated from the fruit, but there is one condition where the seeds are germinated when they are retained on the parent, retained in the fruit, and the fruit is retained on the parent plant. That type of condition is called as vivipary. So vivipary type of germination is observed in the plants which are growing in the mangrove areas, because for seed germination they require oxygen. But the mangrove areas contain saline water, or we can say that salinity will be more in such soils. The saline water is not useful for germination, because the amount of oxygen which is required for the respiration is not enough for the seeds. That is the reason why they will start germinate. The seeds start germinating when they are present in the fruit, and fruit is retained on the plant body itself. This type of character can be seen in mangroves like Rhizophora, Bruguiera and Avicennia like plants.